Iborn, welcome you all for today's video. I am Hasanga Kalingwarachi. Today I am going to do very important experiment in organic chemistry. So it is recrystallization. I will explain what is the recrystallization and how to do recrystallization very clearly and properly, and all the techniques I will explain you. Please remain with me. I am Hasanga Kalingwarachi. Okay, here I have a chemical sample. Okay, here I don't know what is the chemical, and I have 1 gram of this sample. So just assume I don't know whether it's very pure or not. I don't know its purity. However, I guess there are some impurities there. So I want to purify it. So to purify our major chemical component from a mixture which contain impurities, the technique called recrystallization. There are so many methods for purify. However, this method called recrystallization, here we will produce crystals, pure crystals of our major component, and we will separate it from the impurities. So that technique is called recrystallization. Okay, you can see it's already a solid, but it also contains so many impurities. So I want to separate out these major chemical component from that impurities, and I will separate major component and I will produce crystals from that. Okay, other impurities will be removed by this technique. Okay, there are 2 types of impurities in this sample. In normal sample there are 2 types of impurities. Some are soluble impurities and some are non-soluble impurities. Okay, so both impurities, both soluble and insoluble impurities, I have to remove. So I will use several techniques to remove these 2 types of impurities, and after that final stages I will produce crystals. Okay, here if we have provided a sample like this, the first thing is we have to find out a suitable solvent to do this recrystallization. How to find out a proper solvent? There are so many solvents, we know: water, methanol, ethanol, chloroform, dichloromethane, ethyl acetate, and there are so many chemicals, solvents. So we have to select one particular chemical from those bunch of solvents. So the first trial should be, first solvent should be always distilled water. In every situation in recrystallization, we will start our experiment with distilled water because it is very cheap, inexpensive, and readily available. There are so many benefits by using this this distilled water. Because of that, we start our experiment with distilled water. What are the characteristic features should be in this particular solvent? The major thing is, in room temperature, our solute or our chemical should not dissolve in this solvent. That's the first thing. The chemical should not dissolve in the solvent in room temperature. That's the first thing. The second thing is, when we heat the solvent, the solute should be dissolved. When it's heating above room temperature, the solute should be dissolved. That's the second characteristic feature. The third one, when it cool again to the room temperature, the solute should reappear in crystal form. Those are the major 3 characteristic features should be present in this recrystallization process, both solute and chemical. Okay. Always we have to wear safety goggles. Okay. Here I have my distilled water bottle. Okay. So to do this experiment, first of all we have to try. This method is trial and error method, because we have to try. If the solvent is not suitable, we have to try another solvent. So we have to find out the solvent by doing trial and error methods. Okay. So I will start my experiment with distilled water. To do this, I will use this type of boiling tube. I will add a small amount of our chemical substance, very small amount, into this boiling tube. You can see I added a small amount of solute. To this small amount of solute, I will add very small amount of solvent. If I add more amount of solvent, the solute will unsaturate. So we want a supersaturate solution. Because of that, we have to use very minimum amount of solvent. If I add large amount of solvent, what will happen? Solution will unsaturate and crystal will not appear. Because of that, we have to add very small amount of solvent. If it's not sufficient, we have to add another small portion. Okay, we have to add portion by portion, very small amounts. If we add large amount, crystal will not appear. Okay, so here onwards you have to come here and you have to watch. So you have to watch very clearly. Okay, so come here. Okay, here we have our sample. You can see our sample. I will add very small amount of our sample into this type of boiling tube. Okay. We are doing a trial and error procedure. Because of that, we have to use very minimum amount of our chemical, because if not, chemical will waste, and if our solvent is not good, it will be very difficult to do our experiment further. Okay, here you can see very small amount of solute I added. I will add very small amount of water, onto this 3 drops. Actually here I have 3 drops, and I will add another 2 drops. Here you can see I added 5 drops of water to try out the chemical. Okay, please remain in your mind, keep memorize this. The solvent should not dissolve our chemical in room temperature. Now this tube is in room temperature. You can see the solute is not dissolved in this distilled water. You can see in room temperature it is not dissolved in this solvent. So our trial 1 is now passed. I will do our second thing. We have to heat this using a water bath. Actually here we are using distilled water. Because of that, we can heat this tube by using direct flame. Okay, but if we are using another chemical, methanol, ethanol, or other than water, if we are using any organic chemical, we will use water bath, and we will heat water bath, and we will dip our sample in the water bath and we will heat. If we are using distilled water, doesn't matter, you can heat it by using direct flame. Okay, because of that, I will use direct flame to heat our sample. Okay, here okay, now you can see I will heat it. You can see so solute is not dissolved, but now I am heating. Okay, check what will happen. Okay, now in very small amount of water, while heating, the solute was dissolved. You can see that when I am when I heating, the solute was dissolved. Okay, so it passed our second test also. Now we will keep this to settle, we will keep it to become room temperature. We will see what will happen it. Okay, you can see our sample now, it's heated. While it's cooling, the crystal will reappear, crystal should reappear. If it happens so, we can say it's passed our third trial also. If crystals reappear, the water is the suitable solvent. Okay, we will see what will happen while it cooling to room temperature. Okay, you can see very tiny crystals are there. You can see very tiny crystals are there. That means the water is the suitable solvent. Okay, crystals are appearing there. Okay, now you can see it's true, the crystals are appear. You can see here at the surface, on the surface of water, you can see some crystals are there in this wall also. Inside this water body, you can see very little crystals are there here and there. They are suspending. You can see that. I think you can see the crystals. That means you can see now more amount of crystals. That means water is the suitable solvent. We could see it the crystals are reappeared. Because of that, we know the suitable solvent is water. There are three passes. Okay, three qualifications to be a suitable solvent. First thing, it should not dissolve in, the compound should not dissolve in the solvent in room temperature. First one. But while heating, it should dissolve. But after that, when it comes to room temperature, crystals should reappear. If the three things are fulfilled, we can say the that solvent, that particular solvent is the suitable solvent. Now we proved that the water is the suitable solvent. Now I will add my whole sample into this boiling tube, and I will add another small amount of water, and I will heat it by using this Bunsen flame, and after that I have to do hot filtration. Okay, I will show you how to do hot filtration also. Here I have to discuss something. Here I can use this tripod and water bath to heat our boiling tube if we are using organic solvent. Okay, if we are using organic solvent, most of organic solvents are flammable. So to prevent flames, producing flames, we will use this type of water bath, and we will heat using this water bath. But if we are using water, we can heat it direct flame. That's why I heated it by direct flame, because I use distilled water. That's the first point. Okay, so the thing is, while I am heating, the solute was dissolved. Okay, but if there are insoluble impurities, there are two types of impurities I told you, soluble impurities and insoluble impurities. If there are insoluble impurities, I have to remove them by a filtering. So I will use hot filtration method to remove impurities which are insoluble in the solvent. Okay, while the hot condition, while the solution is very hot, we have to filter. So impurities will remain in the filter paper, and our chemical with the solvent will go to the filtrate. Okay. We will do that. First of all, I have to dissolve my chemical in this boiling tube. Okay, you have to come and look very carefully. Here to this boiling tube I will add my whole sample. Okay, now I will rinse the tube which was contained our chemical. Also I will rinse it by using very small amount of distilled water, and I will add it into the you can see I added my whole sample. Okay, I have to I will rinse the walls also by using very small amount of water. I have to add very small amount of water, if not the solution will not saturate. Okay, now you can see I added very small amount of water. Okay, now the thing is I have to heat this mixture until dissolve the whole chemical, while after heating I have to filter it using a filter paper to remove insoluble impurities. So I have to use a filtration apparatus also. Okay, now you can see here our sample. Okay, I have to heat this sample until it totally dissolved. Okay, after that we will filter it by using this hot filtration method. Okay, you can see here the filtration apparatus. Here we have a funnel which had fluted filter paper, and we will collect our filtrate into this type of boiling tube. Okay, like this. However, all the apparatus should be very warm. Okay, first of all I will heat my sample until it dissolves totally. Okay, here thing the water is not sufficient because we have very large amount of our sample. I will add water. Okay, we have to add very small amount of water. However, here we have very big sample amount is very large. Because of that I will I added this type of this amount of water. Okay, we will see whether our sample is dissolving. Okay, you can see the sample is dissolving slowly. Okay, okay, sample is dissolving now, you can see. Okay, now I have to do the hot filtration at the same time. So first of all the setup should be very warm. Okay, I will heat my funnel like this. I will heat my funnel like this because it should be very warm to efficient filtration. At the same time this container also should be very warm. It should be very warm. Okay, again I will heat my funnel. Okay, okay, now my setup is very good in conditions. Now I will heat my sample again, and I will filter it in this hot conditions. Okay, Okay, you can see. Now I will filter it like this at hot conditions. Okay, you can see everything is filtered. Okay, now you can see the filter paper, filtering apparatus is filtering. Okay, filtrate is collecting into this boiling tube. We will see what will happen while it cooling to room temperature. Okay, crystals should reappear. Now insoluble impurities are remain in this filter paper. Now we have our sample with soluble impurities. Okay, we will see what will happen. I will keep my warm sample here. We will see how crystals are appearing. You can see here crystals are appearing like needles. You can see that. Some crystals are falling down to the bottom and collect here. You can see it's very beautiful. The crystals are appearing. Okay, now I touch the bowl. Now it's cooled to room temperature. After it's cooling down to room temperature, I have to dip it in an ice bath, because if there are unformed crystals, we can, if we are cooling, the remaining dissolved chemical will produce crystals. So after becoming room temperature, I will dip this boiling tube in a ice bath. You can see it's very beautiful. Needle shaped crystals are there. Okay, you can see it's very beautiful, very beautiful. Here I have beaker with ice and water. So I will dip this crystal containing boiling tube in this ice bath. So crystallization will rapid. Actually now it's in room temperature. When I dip this in ice bath, remaining solute will crystallize. Okay. Okay, I think now crystallization is finished. You can see our crystals. Now the thing is, we have to filter these crystals. We have to separate these crystals. We have to separate these crystals. Because of that, we will filter these crystals and we will separate this crystal from the solution. Now the crystals are very pure. You know, our solute produce these crystals. This crystal contain only our major solute. So if there are some impurities, soluble impurities, they will remain in the solvent here.
the soluble impurities will remain in the solvent, and we can purify or separate our pure crystals. So we did two things. Initially we did hot filtration to remove insoluble impurities, but after producing these crystals, the solution contains soluble impurities. Okay, now we will filter these crystals by using a Bushnell funnel. Okay, now here you can see the Bushnell funnel setup. Here this porcelain funnel is called the Bushnell funnel. Okay, this is collecting flask, and you can see there is an opening, and it is connected to this type of aspirator. Okay, so when we open this tap, what will happen? Water goes through this tube. Okay, according to Bernoulli principle, what will happen when water goes through this tube to the sink? The air will suck from this tube, and this tube is connected to this flask. So vacuum will build up within this collecting apparatus. So we can filter our solute by using a vacuum. So we have to introduce a filter paper. Okay, here I have a filter paper. I will add this filter paper onto this porous plate. To stick that filter paper properly to the porous plate, I will add a small amount of distilled water. You can see now the filter paper is stick very well. Okay, now here I have my crystals. I will filter these crystals by using this filter paper and this apparatus, Bushnell funnel apparatus. Okay, so to deliver our crystals into this filter paper, I will use a glass rod. You can see here I have my crystals. I will shake it very well, and I will filter like this. Okay, if there are remaining crystals within the tube, I will add water. I must add sufficient amount of water. Okay, and I will mix it, and I will rinse it like this. Okay, like this. I will filter. Now you can see everything I delivered. Okay, now I have to wash the glass rod also. Okay, now I have to rinse the crystals. Okay, because if there are impurities, soluble impurities, they will go with the water to the collecting flask. You can see the collecting flask. Okay, I will rinse my crystals like this. Okay, now you can see my crystals are filtered. Okay, you can see crystals here on the filter paper. If there are some crystals attached to the wall of the Bushnell funnel, we can get them like this. Okay, because we have to get the weight of the crystals. Because of that, I will collect every single crystals, because weight is very important. And okay, now crystals are collected. So we have to dry these crystals. We have to dry out the crystals. So we will put these crystals on a desiccator to dry out. Okay. Okay. To transfer these crystals into a desiccator, we will use this type of tissue papers. So I will separate I will remove the crystals containing filter paper from the Bushnell funnel, and I have to keep it on this type of tissue papers. Okay. After labeling this tissue paper, I will keep this setup within the desiccator to dry out. Okay. On filter paper, I will transfer these crystals into a desiccator. Now here we have our desiccator. Okay. Here we have our sample. Okay. Now I will remove the lid of the desiccator and I will keep my sample inside the desiccator. Okay. Okay. Now the desiccator which contain silica gel, you can see silica gel as the desiccant. Okay, now everything is good. We did everything, every steps we covered in recrystallization. So finally I kept my crystals in a desiccator to dry out. After that I can get the weight of those crystals. It's simple thing, but the important steps in recrystallization I will explain very briefly. Initially we had to find out the suitable solvent. So we started from water, distilled water. We got a small amount of our sample into a boiling tube and we added a small amount of distilled water and we checked whether it is dissolving or not in room temperature. If it is not dissolved in room temperature, it passed our first trial. Second thing, we have to heat it using a flame, Bunsen flame. If it is water, we can warm it using direct flame. If it is an organic solvent, we have to use a water bath. While we are heating, the solid should be dissolved. If it is dissolved while we are heating, it passed second test. After that, again we have to allow it to cool down to room temperature. If the chemical or solute is reappearing, that means it passed third step also. So that's the suitable solvent. After that, we will add our whole sample into that particular tube and we will add another small amount of water, sufficient amount of water, and we will heat it using Bunsen flame. It will be dissolved. While it is dissolved and in hot conditions, we have to filter it. We call that hot filtration. When hot filtration, the using funnel also should be very warm. Okay. Usually we will use stemless funnel, but normally in our lab we have funnels with stems. Okay. You know the stem is this part is the stem. Okay. Usually we have to use stemless funnel. There are some stemless funnels for recrystallization, but in our lab we don't have stemless funnels. We have the stem containing funnel. Because of that, we are using very hot funnel. We will heat it using direct Bunsen flame, or you can heat it using oven drying method also. However, when everything is in hot condition, we filter our hot solution via a fluted filter paper. We are using fluted filter paper. Okay, not normal filter paper. After that, the filtrate is collected into another boiling tube and we will allow it to cool down to room temperature in normal conditions. You saw the appearing crystals and their beauty. Okay. After it become to room temperature, we have to dip it in a ice bath, because if there are some solutes of our compound which are not formed crystals, they will produce crystals while we dip it in a ice bath. Okay. After forming every crystal, every single crystal, we have to filter it by using a Bushnell funnel or vacuum filtration method. Okay. So in hot filtration, we are removing insoluble impurities. If there are insoluble impurities, they will remain in the filter paper. But if there are soluble impurities, they will go with the solvent to the filtrate. But when crystals appear, our compound will produce crystals. It only produces crystals. Soluble impurities will remain in the aqueous layer or liquid part. So we will filter it using Bushnell funnel. So crystal will remain on the filter paper, and the soluble impurities and the solvent go to the filtrate. The resulting crystals we dry out by using our desiccators. After that we can calculate the weight of our crystals. That's different thing. But these are the important things in recrystallization. So if you learn many things, if you learn new things from my video, please subscribe my channel and share this video with your friends. This is recrystallization method. I am Hasanka Kalinguarachi, and thank you for watching. Ayubowan.